Thank you very much, Dr. Gurmil Singh. Next, we have Dr.Amrik Singh. He will be speaking about Sant Teja Singh, Sikh pioneers, and the crisis of leadership. So a little bit about Dr. Amrik Singh. He's a professor of Punjabi and ethnic studies at California State University, which is located in Sacramento. He holds a PhD in English, a former president for 2 years of the Punjabi Literary Society of California. He is also active in the Punjabi American Heritage Society. A journalist for the Sacramento Examiner, Dr. Singh pursues study of Sikh Americans, globalization, the history of sociopolitics of India, and a range of other issues. So let's welcome Dr. Amrik Singh.
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. So I have actually 3 papers and 30 minutes. So I can't do justice. So I will just try to summarize within 30 minutes my point. The Gadar movement and Sikh pioneers, India's freedom, these are some of the topics. But before Gadar, as we have done a lot of Bellingham 1906, but if we go further down a little bit, so you must be aware of the great game that started in 1885 or around that. So the great game was a game by the British, the network of which could not be even today fathomed. We cannot reach the kind of intricate plot of the great game. And the immediate occasion was Maharaja Dalip Singh had become a rebel in 1985. And a little bit before that, he had started showing sign. And he had contacted most of the people of India that he is not fighting back for his kingdom, Punjab, rather he will die as a freedom fighter, in the battlefield somewhere in Afghanistan. So in order to control Dalip Singh, how much money British government spent, you can't imagine. So close to that is Baba Ram Singh, and before that, Kuka movement, all those were shot, Maharaj Singh. So this is the background. The people who came here, their fathers, grandfathers, they had seen Maharaja Ranjit Singh's rule. They had seen these struggles. It was in their consciousness, everything. They knew Punjab was not alone for the Sikhs. They were just less than 10%. 60% were Muslims. And 24 were Hindus and others. Sikhs were just 10%. Though we can't say a perfect rule, but there is one thing clear, that there were no communal riots ever in Ranjit Singh's rule. So he maintained a cultural harmony, even though at the cost of his kingdom. So that was actually the ideal nationalism. India's, South Asia's ideal nationalism, which Dalip Singh tried, but he could not, because he converted back to Sikhism at the age of 14 years. He was converted to Christianity by fraud. That's a long story. So, in order to control Dalip Singh, you should know that Indian National Congress was created by the British. In order to create that, they had to create a Theosophy society. In 1879, Madame Blavatsky, Annie Besant, A.O. Hume, They all were, I mean, the Theosophy became a big movement. So Theosophy and Indian National Congress and the recruitment of the soldiers in the army. Now, if you see, there is a policy, and that policy is religiously followed. And the policy is that all former soldiers, the Sikh soldiers, they should be encouraged to become true Sikhs. So the British encouraged them to enroll in military. They even encouraged them with all the symbols and everything. And they created a pride in them so that they can join in a big way in the military. So a large chunk of people were in the military. That was the big, actually, if Gadaris had a threat, it was not because of their number, it was because that could have triggered a worldwide revolt among the Sikh soldiers. So that was the threat. So they encouraged military recruitment, but the moment the soldier retired, they encouraged him to settle somewhere else, not in Punjab. Because a trained soldier who knew everything how to fight would have been dangerous for Punjab. So the example was in 1907, it was 50 years of the mutiny, 1857, and there was a great threat. Ajit Singh was deported then. So I mean, all those things are the background, and we cannot understand this story without understanding the background. And I also don't say that I have no hesitation in saying the Sikh factor, because if I am hesitating, it means I am trying to reduce the universal reach of the Sikhism. There is no scope for any discrimination. And who you would alienate from the Sikh if there is a Sikh state? Can you alienate anyone? On what principle you will? Guru Granth Sahib says that? Nowhere. So it's a question of principles. And this movement inspired people from different walks of life. There's no doubt about that. And if some traitors were equally not from one caste or one religion, they were from all different religions. So, but by and large, mostly they were from Punjab. So, now I coined a term in order to understand it, that there was a real movement which has been trying to become the ideal movement under different Dalit Singh, Baba Ram Singh, Mehraj Singh, and then comes Gadar movement. So it's a real Indian ideal national movement. And the British knew that if they are allowed, they will unite whole India. And if India is united, they don't have any chance to stay back. So they, in order to save the empire, they had to do everything. It was not, India was a jewel in the crown. If India was gone, the empire was gone. So a lot was at stake. So now, who are the freedom fighters, the rebels? We could not identify them, and unless Punjabis would not understand how they were defrauded, they will never be able to play any role. So there is a rebel and a reciprocal rebel. That was the part of the great game. When the artificial rebels, they planted in the movements and they tried to mislead the whole energy, dynamism of the movement. So reciprocal movements started with Theosophical movement, Indian National Congress, Arya Samaj, which Madam Blavatsky It was the idea of Madame Blavatsky and Dayanand. Dayanand and Madame Blavatsky started this. Singh Sabha, it was also by a theosophist and under the patronage of the British. And many other sects, even other sects, many Dera, if we say, I mean, people won't believe, but Madame Blavatsky is responsible for all those sects. Now, as a part of the great game, they created many Swamis, English-speaking Swamis. Those who went to England, Australia, America, Canada, and they were trained in a certain ways to meditation, Aryan hegemony, and how they are created by a God divine to rule the world, occult, clairvoyance, all those arts, you know. So they went, and you know, there was a temple even before Stockton Temple in San Francisco, a Hindu temple in San Francisco in 1905. So Teja Singh comes at such a time when there is a hordes of Swamis all over, and Teja Singh came with a message, obviously from Sant Datta Singh. So he said in one of the Stockton paper, I think no other could get so wide a coverage as Teja Singh got. Whether the brotherhood will come tomorrow or millions years later, all depends on abolition of selfishness, the subjugation of the ego, annihilation of self by the spirit of divine. So the role of Teja Singh has been marginalized to my mind. He's a community organizer. Just see, he came to England, went to Cambridge, opened a Gurdwara, set up a society there, came to Columbia University, heard about Vancouver, came here, organized people here, then, you know, bought Harbour Island, 250 acres, which would have been a real gold now had they not sold that. And then went to Harvard, took his master's in English again, became the first president of Stockton Gurdwara Temple, then inspires others, the Gadar movement is in formation. Then he goes back. Okay, so as a community organizer, he was the only person with his jatha. He went to all those camps, from one camp to other, where he appealed them to become true Sikhs. If you are in the Western world, don't try to act, just live as a true Sikh. And then the people will come to know who you are, they will, you know, shed their hatred for you. But if you are drunk and lying in the streets, nobody will like you. So he inspired the people like that, and he made many people, you know, take Amrit. So, and that was the connection. All the people, those who went with him. So they created a kind of a communication. It was an easy communication with all the camps. So, but when Teja Singh leaves, the community feels totally alienated. There's total alienation because there's no one to guide them. Most important example I tell you, Teja Singh, who went to Harvard, who went to Cambridge, who went to Columbia, I don't think there was any other with so much exposure and so much knowledge, which is in the Vancouver Daily also, you see. And he met with a person in Harvard. His name is Professor Bliss Perry. Professor Bliss Perry, it was the chairman of English department. And he was editor for 9 years, Atlantic Journal. And he was in the Princeton University, a very close friend of Woodrow Wilson before he became president. Actually, Woodrow Wilson would respect him for his views, Professor Perry's. So Teja Singh and Perry had some kind of a relationship which nobody has discovered. And that relation is a wonderful relation. Once Teja Singh ran out of money, and Professor Bliss Perry saw that Teja Singh has not been coming to the university class, so he thought he's in real trouble. So he went to his residence. He knew already that he must be in trouble, so he went to his residence and paid him money to pay for his fees so that he could get his degree. So I tried to read a lot about Perry, and I came to know about Woodrow Wilson, because there are many messages to Woodrow Wilson from Stockton Gurdwara, and Woodrow Wilson has been responding to them. When Woodrow Wilson's first wife died, so there is a telegram from Stockton Gurdwara to Woodrow Wilson, White House, and White House responds to that telegram. And then there is a World War I, and then America enters the war in 17. So then there is a telegram supporting the war, and Woodrow Wilson responds to that. So I saw, how come Woodrow Wilson, there is so much about Woodrow Wilson there. So then I read about Professor Perry, and there Professor Perry wrote a book called American Mind. American Mind, and how advanced those people were. So that's why I say these Exclusion League and those racist people, they don't represent America. America is represented by people like Bliss Perry and Woodrow Wilson. So, you know, the Vancouver Daily says about uncrowned king of the East Indians. Any argument that he was inspired by any other motive than unselfish would be regarded as high treason. So this is the paper, mainstream paper says, to condemn Teja Singh that he is doing for his own selfishness is a treason. Treason is a very, very powerful word. So he is regarded in India as one of the strongest champions of the so-called national movement, purely seditious one. So he was one of the most disturbing personality for the British. Most disturbing, but British were smart enough because they knew how to play the game, the great game. So they didn't directly attack Teja Singh, but they created from within opposition against Teja Singh, which he clearly understood, and he left the scene quietly, and he didn't look back then after that. In the World paper in December 14, 1908, Professor Teja Singh had brought all Muslims, Sikhs and Hindus from the Punjab and Brahmins from the northwest and from Lower Bengal on one platform in a way that could not have happened in India. So that is a paper in Vancouver, that paper. So, I mean, who was the threat? If all these people are on one platform, the British knew they cannot stay even for 2 nights in India if people are, united like this. So Teja Singh became the greatest threat. So he goes to Berlin Congress, and Reverend Jenkins Jones Lord, who was the organizer of World Parliament of World Religions in 1893, and he personally invited him there. And I checked
his participation in Berlin Congress, and it's in the Christian Journal. It's recorded, and it's recorded on October 13, 1910. Reverend Charles Vander reported, in robes of flowing yellow silk with lofty turban, Professor Teja Singh gave an account of the religion of his people, the Sikh of India, planted by Guru Nanak and others in jungles of Asiatic philosophy and worship centuries ago. So, Teja Singh was the only person who was so much clear about Guru Granth Sahib, about Europe, about all the world scene, and he knew where Sikh's role is. So he was never mistaken about the universality of the Sikhism and the message and inspiration behind it. So, you know, when Teja Singh tried to go back to Cambridge, he was denied admission there. And when he came back to Columbia, he was refused there also. But when he went to Harvard, so he was accepted. Why? Because of Professor Perry, Professor Bliss Perry. Because he was not racist. He had very advanced views. So, this is words of Professor Perry. Racial origins irrelevant in social sciences. Perry writes that all men are brothers, that oppression of one man or one race degrades the whole human family, and that there should be the fullest equality of opportunity. So these are Perry's views in 1911. So British definitely might have tried that Teja Singh may not go to Harvard, but Perry might have thrown them out of his office. So in Stockton, he is bonding with the great personality Baba Jwala Singh, Baba Basakha Singh, Nidan Singh Chuga, Baba Son Singh Pakna, Astoria, all were known to him. There was a lot of energy, you know, he got back from those people. So, you know, this is all history, but when we read books and the modern, it seems like the Gadar party started in 1913, and had there been no Hardyal and others, then this would never have happened. So some account of they try to break the whole, you know, background influence. So Gurdwara, what were Gurdwara? They were sites of Indian nationalism. Why? Most important thing is, in 1907, when attack happened in Bellingham, a written request was sent to Indian National Congress session. And they were asked that we Indians were maltreated like that, so this should be condemned. The Indian National Congress leaders refused to condemn Bellingham incident. It's on record. They refused to acknowledge it ever happened. Why talk about condemning? So when your party, National Congress, which is trying to act as a freedom party, freedom fighters party, they are not owning you, British not owning you, Canada not owning you, when you are totally stateless, who you belong to, then that total frustration, then they build a Gurdwara, and Gurdwara becomes a site of everything, their national life, their social life, their religious life, it becomes a kind of a nation with which they identify. And this is how they start working, and we should, that's why there is a growth of Gurdwaras all over the places. So, I had other slides, maybe they are somewhere else, so I won't be able to. How much time I had? 5 minutes. Okay, now there is so much to tell, but I will tell you. I have read Minutes book maintained at Stockton Gurdwara. Not only that, all their accounts, everything in detail, word by word, and it will shock you how much they did for ideal Indian nationalism and how little we recognized. In 1923s, they pooled the money, and that money was for starting their own newspaper, and the name of the newspaper was Hindustan Times. And Hindustan Times was started from Delhi. Panikkar was made editor. So they sent money, and somehow Gandhi came into Panikkar's contact. Gandhi said that this paper should not be with the funds from Gadris from America. So they somehow, without telling the sources who funded that, so Panikkar enters, Panikkar and there is another Sikh leader, they both became, so they secretly sold the Hindustan Times to Birla House, secretly. And it has been written in the minutes book of that we condemn it. We envisioned the idea. So why the Hindustan Times was the vision of the Gadris of Stockton or from America, and why they had to snatch it? Because they didn't want to leave anything which was close to Indian nationalism. So they wanted to have their own stamp on that. So Birla, ever since then, Hindustan Times is with the Birla House. And then I have seen entries about Pratap Singh Karon there. He has been working with all the Qalis, and how the Gurdwara movement started. They have been paying from time to time. And another most important example, in 1927, Catherine Mayo wrote a book, Mother India, which was condemnation of Indian as a people. And there was a lot against India. So all the national leaders of the Congress just gave few statements, but nobody could come against that. So that was against the whole Indian civilization. So Stockton Gurdwara held in its divan, put a mata, a kind of a resolution, that we are going to reverse this attack. And so we will fund anyone who is going to write a book against it. And their two names came. One is Dalip Singh Sond, and another was Mishra. And they said, okay, read this book and write another book to counter that. And they both were promised $1,500 in 1928. So Mishra, after 1 week, came back and he said, I can't do it, sorry. Then Dalip Singh Sond was left. Then Dalip Singh Sond was given $1,500. And Dalip Singh Sond wrote a book, My Mother India. So that has been published by Pacific Coast Khalsa Diwan Society, Stockton. So what greater proof can be of the Sikhs dying, struggling, doing everything for the ideal Indian nationalism? So that was not against the Sikh. Catherine Mayo had not written against the Sikhs. It was against all Indian Hindus and all that. But when it became a national question, it was from Stockton Gurdwara that publicly they you know, and even you can see that's published by the Khalsa Diwan Society. Then came Sarojini Naidu in 29. So they engaged, she was given a red carpet welcome. And the whole city came to see. Nobody saw, what kind of woman, why they are giving so much respect to her. It was a show. Then in 1945, Vijay Lakshmi Pandit, the sister of Jawaharlal Nehru, came. And she said, we need your help. So within 1 hour, right there, they collected 65, in 1946, they collected $6,500 and gave to her. And they called aeroplane in order to shower flowers on her. So all that time, they were trying their best to be part of the Indian national movement. But there were all out efforts with the British, with the hardliner, radical Arya Samajis and race car diplomats. They were trying to deflect their participation from the Indian national movement. So there is so much to talk. Actually, I can't finish even 3 hours. There's so much, but time is limited. So if you have any question, I will welcome that. So my time is over. Thank you very much.